So unfortunately, about 1 million people a day are getting COVID these days, and I'm getting a lot of comments like this person saying, I just tested positive after the holidays. I am so sick. I'm really sorry, and let's cover the Clean Air Club What to Do When I Have COVID guide. If you test positive for COVID on a rapid test or a PCR, or if you're feeling sick and haven't gotten a positive test yet, COVID is the most common thing out there. It's probably COVID, not guaranteed, but just that is the most likely possibility. You're going to want to isolate to not get anyone else sick. Put on a quality mask like a KN95, KF94, N95. You want to open windows as much as possible, even if just a crack. That will help ventilate. Get some air purifiers and turn them on. Let your household members know. Next slide is going to tell you to notify other people you've been around recently. And you want to start radical rest. This is resting your mind and body as much as possible. Think about it kind of like a concussion, where recovery helps the more you rest your brain. COVID is similar. If you try and push too early, if you exercise, you can cause a crash and mess up your recovery. A lot of people recommend not exercising for up to 6 weeks after your infection. If you want to practice something called pacing, which is if you start to feel tired and fatigued, just really relax. Don't try and push through it. That can cause crashes for some people. Also, one note here, if you test positive on a rapid, it's hard to find PCRs these days. It may still be a good idea to try and get one just to prove that you did in fact have COVID later on. If you end up getting long COVID, having that proof could be helpful for insurance. And I know that it's expensive and really hard to come by, but this is the ideal option, would be getting a PCR positive at some point. Within the first day of testing positive, you're going to want to schedule a telehealth appointment. Talk to your doctor, or try and get Paxlovid is one reason I would want to do that. Paxlovid does help a lot of people. If you take a lot of medications, you may have more considerations. You definitely want to talk to a doctor, but for a lot of people, it helps nip COVID in the bud and stop it from replicating in your body, so it's a good idea to get it on it as soon as possible. I personally would do that. This is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. People are testing positive maybe 3, 4, 5 days after they've been exposed, or after 3 or 4 or 5 days of symptoms. So think back to the last several days. Who are people you've been around, and please notify them. People are going to appreciate you telling them. They won't appreciate if they find out later that you got them sick and didn't even tell them. You're going to want to cancel all plans for the week, probably 10, 12 days, in my opinion. Discuss isolation plans with household members, friends, family. Again, you're trying to practice as much radical rest as possible, so this is the time to lean on people that maybe owe you a favor, or just, let's not even talk about owing and favors. This is a time to call on your community for some help and support and say, I'm trying to rest as much as possible. Is there ways that other people can support you, and you will help them back later? It says begin medications, and if you go to this document, the link is in my bio. They have links to various studies and other resources. You want to try and get time off from work or school if at all possible. Use vacation time, use sick time. I know a lot of people don't have those these days. And here's where you're going to want to schedule your PCR test if at all possible. Turn on a humidifier, or try and get a little humidity in the room. There are links to a study later in this document that optimal humidity is around 40 to 60% to reduce viral activity. And they recommend tracking your symptoms. They provide a guide. It's a little in-depth for my taste, but it's in the guide. Continue radical resting during the first week after you test positive. Continue trying to take medications and supplements. I'll post a list of the various things they recommend. They recommend a daily rapid test. I probably wouldn't do that until maybe days 4 or 5, or maybe 5, 6, 7 after you test positive. Probably you're going to test positive for anywhere from 7 to 10 days. That kind of seems to be the average. It also says to learn the signs of heart attack and stroke. Don't let this alarm you. Just be informed. It's a possible side effect of COVID. COVID's a vascular disease. It is not extremely likely to happen, but it is possible for it to happen. I'm just going to move my head so you can see the whole screen. I don't 100% agree with this entire schedule. I probably wouldn't take this many rapid tests. I would also trust a negative rapid test in 2 days in a row. I probably wouldn't get another PCR to test negative, but that's just me personally. Then they say you may want to get a checkup and do some lab work. They link to potential labs you could get, and avoid moderate to vigorous exercise like I mentioned. They recommend certain medications, and think on how did you get sick, and are there things in the future you can do to potentially avoid this, because COVID damage is cumulative, so you want to avoid this as much as possible. So, tools during the time that you're sick. You're going to want a KN95 mask or better, like N95. This is to stop getting other people sick. An air purifier to filter out the virus you're breathing, not get other people sick. Humidifier, like I said, 40 to 60% is a recommended level. Again, there's a study linked here on that. Thermometer to check on your fever. Pulse oximeter, this is important. They're pretty cheap, maybe $20 at most pharmacies, grocery stores. This is just to make sure that if you have any breathing issues during your course of COVID, you don't drop your oxygen levels too low. That can actually be a sign to go to the hospital if your oxygen levels are, I believe, 88 or below. A healthy level should be around 95 to 98 for most people. Now, neti pot and saline packets, this is a big one. This is to rinse your nose out, which keeps it moisturized. It boosts some of your natural immune properties happening in your nose, and even physically could wash away some virus. Additionally to this, I'd recommend a saltwater gargle. There are some studies showing that additionally just helps some of your natural virus fighting ability. Over-the-counter medications to consider: ibuprofen, acetaminophen, which is Tylenol, expectorants or flu medication, cough drops, cetylpyridinium chloride mouthwash. I've covered this. If you go to my channel, there's a video of me holding a big mouthwash bottle. This is a mouthwash that kills viruses and will get rid of any virus hanging out in your throat. It's a very widely available product that many brands make, so highly recommend this CPC mouthwash. Again, talk to your doctor. Paxlovid helps a lot of people nip COVID in the bud. I would consider that. Metformin, that's a little bit new of a recommendation. I don't know as much about it, but again, talk to your doctor, read these studies. There's some herbal tinctures you can consider. Again, they're linked. Melatonin has been shown to help with some people. Natokinase, I know a little bit about. It's supposed to help with clotting, I think. Again, just read about these things. I'm not telling you to do every single thing on this list, but these are things to look into. And antiviral nasal spray. I have a couple videos on this. I have a toolkit in my bio that covers a few different nasal sprays. I personally have Betadine. One other people uses Xlear. So Covixel, those are a couple names to look into. Ways to get more tests. You can get 4 free COVID tests from USPS. There's a link in my bio or a link in this document. There's also a program called Test to Treat for if you are uninsured or underinsured. Highly recommend that. I think you might be able to get Paxlovid through that program as well. There may be some state-based resources. So, for example, Illinois has a free COVID test order. This is another CDC program. So look at these links. And then there's advice, places you might be able to get free or reduced medical care. And then mask blocks. This one's huge. I got a comment where someone said, I can't afford to buy KN95, N95 masks all the time. And I told them 2 things. One, you can re-wear these masks pretty much until the straps break, until they get really dirty, or if they get wet. Or another guidance would be maybe 40 hours of use and then throw it away. But I reuse masks constantly. I have about 5 to 7 that I use at a time, and I cycle through them one day at a time. And then additionally, I told the person, look up mask blocks. And they said, oh my goodness, there's a mask block in my area. I'm going to be able to get free masks. So that made my day. So I hope that was helpful. Make sure to save it, share it with anyone. The important takeaways, our goals here are to rest as much as possible, to reduce our viral load as much as possible, which can be through Paxlovid, which can be through CPC mouthwash, which can be through nasal sprays. We want to boost our immune system, which can be nasal rinses, saltwater gargles, and then let other people know if they may have been exposed. It's really, really important. It's the right thing to do. And think through this experience and what can you do in the future to avoid high-risk exposures, to wear a mask around people if you don't know where they've been or if they've been around a lot of people. And every single video I'm going to start talking about this. We have to start talking amongst each other. I think there are tons of people who don't feel safe at work, but they don't want to say anything because they don't know if their coworkers agree or if their boss agrees. We need to start talking about this as a collective, as a society. COVID is still a problem. It's not gone. And the only way we're going to fix any of this is by talking about it and raising public consciousness.